I went to Mario's Bistro with my best friend Nicole on a Thursday night. We both study at Central University, and this restaurant is always packed because it sits right in the middle of downtown, just 3 blocks from campus. The smell of garlic bread and tomato sauce filled the air. Red and white checkered tablecloths covered every table. Nicole was laughing about something our professor said in class, her blonde hair bouncing as she talked. "Sean, you should have seen your face when he called on you," she said, still giggling. I smiled and took a bite of my pasta. The restaurant buzzed with conversations, families eating together, couples holding hands, a group of students in the corner booth. Everything felt normal, safe, warm. Then I heard it, a scream so loud it cut through every sound in the room like a knife through butter. My fork froze halfway to my mouth. The whole restaurant went silent. Every head turned toward the entrance. A gunshot exploded through the air. I looked back and saw him. A man in a black jacket and dark jeans stood near the front door, holding an AR-15 rifle. His eyes were wide and empty, like looking into 2 black holes. He didn't say anything. He just started firing. The first bullet shattered a wine glass on the bar. The second one hit a man in a business suit. He fell backward, blood spreading across his white shirt like spilled paint. People started screaming. The sound filled my ears until I couldn't think straight. "Get down!" someone yelled. Nicole grabbed my arm so hard it hurt. We dropped under our table, my knees hitting the hard floor. My heart was beating so fast I thought it might explode out of my chest. I could feel each beat in my throat, in my temples, behind my eyes. More gunshots, glass breaking, people crying. Someone was praying in Spanish. A child was screaming for their mother. The sounds mixed together into one terrible noise that I knew would live in my head forever. I looked at Nicole. Her face was white as paper. Tears ran down her cheeks, but she wasn't making any sound. She was shaking so hard her teeth were clicking together. I grabbed her hand and squeezed it. "We have to move," I whispered. My voice didn't sound like mine. It was too quiet, too shaky. She shook her head fast. "No, no, no. We stay here. We hide." But I saw something she didn't. The gunman was walking through the restaurant now. His boots made heavy sounds on the floor. He was checking under tables, shooting anyone he found. He was methodical, patient, like he had all the time in the world. A woman 3 tables away from us tried to run for the back exit. The gunman turned and fired. She went down hard, her body hitting the floor with a sound I'll never forget. She didn't move after that. "We're gonna die if we stay here," I said to Nicole. My whole body was shaking now. "Look at me. Nicole, look at me." She turned her terrified eyes to mine. "We run for the kitchen. On 3. Okay?" She nodded, but I could tell she wasn't really hearing me. She was somewhere else, somewhere far away in her mind where this wasn't happening. I counted. 1. The gunman shot someone else, a man begging for his life. 2. I could see the kitchen door. It was maybe 30 feet away. It felt like 30 miles. 3. We ran. I pulled Nicole behind me, our hands locked together so tight it hurt. My shoes slipped on something wet on the floor. I didn't look down. I didn't want to know what it was. The kitchen door was getting closer. 20 feet. 15. A gunshot rang out behind us. The bullet hit the wall next to my head, flake, sending pieces of plaster flying. I felt them hit my cheek. We kept running. 10 feet. 5. I slammed into the kitchen door so hard it burst open. I stumbled forward, catching myself on a metal counter. A chef in white was hiding behind it, his eyes huge with fear. That's when I realized Nicole's hand wasn't in mine anymore. I spun around. She was lying face down just inside the kitchen door, not moving. Her yellow sweater had a dark hole in the back, and blood was spreading out around her like spilled wine. "Nicole!" I dropped to my knees beside her. I turned her over and her head fell to the side. Her eyes were open but empty, staring at nothing. There was a small trickle of blood coming from her mouth. No, Nicole, wake up, wake up. I shook her shoulders, but her body was limp, heavy. Wrong. The chef grabbed my arm. "She's gone, son, she's gone. We have to move now." No, she's not. She's just... But I knew. I knew from the way she wasn't breathing, from the stillness of her chest, from the empty look in her eyes that would never see anything again. Another gunshot. Closer this time. The kitchen door was still open. The gunman would be here any second. We have to go. The chef pulled at me harder. I looked down at Nicole one more time. Her face was peaceful, almost like she was sleeping. I reached down and closed her eyes. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely do it. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry." The chef yanked me to my feet and dragged me toward the back of the kitchen. I kept looking back at Nicole's body on the floor. I left her there. I left my best friend lying dead on a dirty kitchen floor. We ran past ovens and refrigerators. 2 waitresses were huddled in the corner, holding each other and crying. The chef pushed open a heavy metal door, the loading dock entrance. We stumbled out into an alley. The night air hit my face like cold water. I could hear sirens, lots of them. Police cars were pulling up to the front of the restaurant. Officers with guns drawn were running toward the building. I collapsed against the alley wall. My legs wouldn't hold me anymore. I slid down until I was sitting on the cold concrete. The chef was yelling something to the police officers, pointing back at the restaurant, but I couldn't hear him. All I could hear was Nicole's voice from earlier that evening. "You should have seen your face when he called on you. Laughing, happy, alive." And now she was dead. An officer ran over to me. His mouth was moving, asking questions, but I couldn't understand the words. I looked down at my hands. They were covered in blood. Nicole's blood. From when I turned her over, from when I closed her eyes. Someone wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. A paramedic was checking me for injuries. I wanted to tell them I was fine, that I wasn't hurt, but my voice wouldn't work. Nothing worked. I just sat there, staring at my bloody hands. More police arrived, SWAT teams in black gear, ambulances. The street was full of flashing red and blue lights. They looked pretty in a horrible way, like a nightmare carnival. Gunshots came from inside the restaurant. Then silence. An officer spoke into his radio. The gunman was dead. He'd killed himself when he saw the police. Good, I thought numbly. I hoped he suffered. I hoped it hurt. They brought the bodies out one by one on stretchers covered with white sheets. I counted them as they passed. 8, 9, 10, 11. Then Nicole, I knew it was her even before I saw the edge of her yellow sweater peeking out from under the sheet. I stood up, the blanket falling off my shoulders. An officer tried to stop me, but I pushed past him. I pulled back the sheet just enough to see her face. Someone had cleaned the blood from her mouth. She looked younger somehow, smaller, like a kid instead of a 20-year-old college student. "I'm sorry," I said again. It was all I could say. "I'm so sorry, Nicole." They took her away. I watched the ambulance drive off, knowing I'd never see her again. Not really. The next time would be at a funeral, and that wouldn't be her. That would just be a body in a box. Nicole was gone. A detective asked me questions. What did I see? What happened? How did I escape? I answered like a robot, my voice flat and dead. I told him everything except the part that mattered. The part where I pulled Nicole into the kitchen. The part where she died because I made her run. They finally let me go around 3 a.m. My roommate picked me up from the police station. He tried to talk to me, but I stared out the window and said nothing. That was 3 months ago. I still see her sometimes. Not like a ghost, I'm not crazy. But I'll be walking to class and I'll forget for just a second. I'll think I should text Nicole about this. Or Nicole would think this is funny. Then I remember. She's not there. She'll never be there again. Her mom called me last week. She was cleaning out Nicole's apartment and found a birthday Nicole had bought for me. My birthday isn't until next month. She'd bought it early like she always did because she was afraid she'd forget. The card is sitting on my desk right now. I can't open it. I don't think I ever will. Sometimes I wish I'd died in that restaurant instead of her. Other times I'm grateful I survived. Mostly I just feel numb. Like part of me died on that kitchen floor too. They tore down Mario's Bistro last month. The owner said he couldn't keep it open after what happened. There's just an empty lot there now. But I still see it when I close my eyes. The red tablecloths, the smell of garlic bread, Nicole's face across from me, laughing, always laughing, until she wasn't. I should have trusted my gut the day Scott Kelly walked into Horizon Travel Agency. He wore a gray suit that hung on his thin frame like draped fabric on a skeleton. His smile was too wide, showing too many teeth. When Mr. Patterson introduced him as our new chief account officer, Scott's handshake felt cold and damp. His fingers squeezed mine a second too long. "Amanda Green," he said, my name crawling out of his mouth slowly. "You'll report directly to me now." My stomach twisted. The first 2 weeks were uncomfortable. Scott would stand too close. His eyes would linger. Once, I caught him smelling my coffee mug after I left my desk. When I returned, he was placing it back down, that horrible smile spreading across his face. Then came the Portland trip. Cascade Hotels was our biggest potential client. Mr. Patterson assigned Scott to lead the pitch, and Scott insisted I come along. The meeting was Friday morning. We'd fly out Thursday night, stay at their hotel, and fly home Friday evening. One night. I could handle one night. At check-in, the desk clerk handed us our key cards. "You're both in the executive suite on the 10th floor." My heart stopped. Both? I booked 2 separate rooms. Scott pulled out his phone. Scott pulled out Ishin. The confirmation shows 1 suite with 2 bedrooms. More cost-effective. He showed me the screen. The email looked real. "I'll book my own room." I said, "We're completely full," the clerk said. "Medical conference, but the suite has 2 separate bedrooms with locks." Scott touched my elbow. I flinched. "It's just one night, Amanda, very professional. Unless you're uncomfortable working with me?" His voice had an edge, a warning. I thought about my upcoming performance review, about how Scott could destroy my career. "It's fine," I whispered. The suite was at the end of a long, quiet hallway. Inside was huge, a living room, a small kitchen, and 2 bedrooms on opposite sides. My bedroom had a lock. I checked it 3 times. We reviewed the presentation for 2 hours. Scott sat too close on the couch, his thigh pressing against mine. Finally, at 10 p.m., I stood up. "I'm exhausted. Good night." I locked myself in my bedroom and pushed a chair against the door. Then I checked the window. 10th floor, no balcony, no fire escape. Just a straight drop down. I barely slept. Around 3 a.m., my doorknob turned, slowly, testing the lock. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Amanda?" Scott's voice came through the door. "I need to discuss something about the presentation." I didn't answer, didn't move, barely breathed. The doorknob turned again, harder. The door pushed against the lock. "Amanda, open the door. Don't be difficult. Go away. We'll talk in the morning." Silence. Then his voice came different now. Lower. Angry. "I know you're attracted to me. Stop playing games. I'm calling security." "With what? Your phone?" My blood turned cold. I looked at the nightstand where I'd left my phone charging. It wasn't there. I'd left it in the living room. "Looking for this?" He slid something under the door. My phone. The battery was at 3%. He'd unplugged it hours ago. I ran to the room phone. Dead. The cord had been cut, the end frayed and exposed. "I called the front desk earlier," Scott said through the door, almost cheerful now. "Told them we didn't want to be disturbed. No calls in or out." The doorknob rattled violently. The door slammed against the frame. The chair skidded an inch. "Let me in, Amanda. We're going to have a conversation about respect." I ran to the window. It wouldn't budge, painted shut. I grabbed a lamp and swung it at the glass. It bounced off. Safety glass. Unbreakable. Bang! The door shook. The chair slid another inch. "I've been very patient with you." Scott's voice was calm now, which was worse than the anger. "I've been a gentleman, but you keep rejecting me. That ends tonight." Bang! Crack! The door frame splintered. I grabbed the lamp, ripped the cord from the wall. It was all I had. My phone screen went black, dead battery. I was alone on the 10th floor in a suite where no one would disturb us. Crash! The door exploded open. I heard Scott's footsteps enter. Heard him breathing. Amanda, come out! I'd hidden in the closet, gripping the lamp cord. The closet door flew open. Scott stood there, his tie loose, his eyes wild. There you are. He reached for me. I swung the lamp at his head with everything I had. It connected with his temple with a sick crunch. He stumbled back, blood running down his face. I ran. Burst through the bedroom, through the living room, fumbled with the suite door. My hands shook so badly I could barely turn the deadbolt. Behind me, Scott roared. I felt his hand grab my hair, yanking me backward. I screamed and screamed. He dragged me back. I clawed at the carpet, at his arms. My hand found a decorative vase on the hallway table. I grabbed it and smashed it against his knee. He crumpled with a howl. I ran, finally got the door open, burst into the hallway screaming, "Help! Call 911." Doors opened. Faces appeared. Someone yelled they were calling the police. Scott appeared in the doorway, blood on his face, straightening his tie. "She's having a mental breakdown," he said calmly to the crowd. "Work stress. I'm her supervisor." "He attacked me. He broke into my room. He cut the phone lines." The police arrived 12 minutes later. They found the broken door, the cut phone cord, my dead phone, Scott's blood everywhere. They found something else too. A tiny camera hidden in my bedroom smoke detector, recording to Scott's laptop. He'd been watching me. In his suitcase, rope, duct tape, a hunting knife, and a folder with my name filled with photos of me, at work, at home, at the gym. My schedule mapped out for weeks. The investigation revealed he'd done this before. 2 women at his previous company reported him. One had disappeared 3 years ago on a business trip to Seattle. A hotel room, 10th floor. Scott Kelly was sentenced to 23 years in prison. As they walked him out in handcuffs, he looked back at me. "I just wanted us to be close, Amanda." I can still feel the cold metal against my throat. Even now, 3 years later, I wake up gasping, my hand reaching for my neck to make sure there's no blade there. Mike says he has the same dream. We don't talk about what happened at the Riverside Foundry anymore, but it's always there between us, like a scar that never quite heals. We pulled up to the foundry just before sunset. The building looked dead. Broken windows, collapsed roof sections, weeds growing through cracks in the parking lot. Perfect for scrappers like us. Mike spotted it first, grinning as he pointed at the old smokestack. "That's gotta be worth something, Steven. Copper fittings, old brass valves. We'll make rent for 3 months." I backed the pickup through a gap in the fence. The metal screamed as we pushed through. Inside the compound, everything was silent. Too silent. No birds. No wind. Just our boots crunching on broken glass as we walked toward the main entrance. The front doors were already open. Not broken open. Just open. Like someone had unlocked them and walked inside. I pointed it out to Mike, but he shrugged it off. Said some homeless people probably used it for shelter. The smell inside made my eyes water. Chemicals. Strong ones. Not the dusty, moldy smell of an abandoned building. This was fresh. Acetone mixed with something metallic, like pennies and paint thinner. Our flashlights swept across the main floor. Old machinery stood like frozen monsters in the darkness. Conveyor belts hung from the ceiling like dead snakes. And then Mike's light caught something that made us both freeze. Fresh tire tracks in the dust, leading deeper into the building. "Maybe we should check out a different place," I whispered, but Mike was already following the tracks. Curiosity overrode common sense. It always did with him. I followed because leaving him alone felt worse than staying together. The tracks led to a freight elevator, the kind that could carry entire cars. The gate was open. The tracks went inside and stopped at a button panel that was lit up, glowing green in the darkness. "The power's on," Mike said. His voice cracked. "Steven, why would the power be on?" I could answer. We heard voices. Men's voices, coming up from below, getting louder, coming closer. We ran. No discussion, no debate, pure instinct. We sprinted back toward the entrance, our flashlights swinging wildly. Behind us, the elevator groaned to life. The voices grew clearer, angry voices, shouting. We made it maybe 50 feet before the lights came on. Every fluorescent bulb in the foundry exploded with light. We were exposed, visible, and we heard footsteps behind us. Running footsteps. There, by the west exit. We didn't look back. We ran toward where we'd parked the truck, weaving between machines. My lungs burned. My legs felt like rubber. And then Mike screamed. He'd tripped over a chain. He went down hard, smashing his face against concrete. Blood poured from his nose. I grabbed his arm, hauling him up. That's when I saw them. 5 men. Wearing work clothes covered in stains. One had a crowbar. Another held a long knife that caught the light. But it was the man in front who made my blood turn to ice. He was older, maybe 50, with dead eyes and a smile that had no warmth in it. "You boys lost?" he asked. His voice was calm, friendly almost, which made it worse. "We're just leaving," I said. My voice shook. "We didn't see anything. We were just looking for scrap." The man laughed. The others joined in. It echoed through the foundry like breaking glass. "You didn't see anything? Well, that's good. That's real good. Except you saw us and you saw our workshop downstairs, and you're gonna see a lot more before we're done." The man with the knife stepped forward. "Boss, we can't let them go. They saw the lab. They could call the cops." Lab. The word hit me like a punch. This wasn't just criminals hiding out. They were making something here. Drugs, probably, which meant we'd stumbled onto something worth killing for. "Take them downstairs," the boss said. "Same place as the last guy." They moved toward us. Mike grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in. And then he did something insane. He grabbed a handful of rust and dirt from the ground and threw it at the nearest man's face. The man screamed, clawing at his eyes. In that second of chaos, Mike shoved me toward a gap between 2 machines. We squeezed through, our shirts tearing on sharp metal edges. Behind us, they were shouting, crashing into equipment as they tried to follow. We ran through a maze of machinery, taking random turns. Left, right again. I lost all sense of direction. My shoulder slammed into a pipe, sending pain shooting down my arm. Mike was breathing in ragged gasps beside me. We found ourselves in a side room, small, dark, filled with old barrels. There was a door on the far side, a door with sunlight leaking around its edges, an exit. But between us and that door were voices. They were searching, spreading out through the building, getting closer. "Under there," Mike whispered, pointing at a gap beneath a collapsed section of ceiling. We crawled into the space, pulling old tarps over us. The smell was horrible, rot and chemicals. I pressed my hand over my mouth to keep from gagging. Footsteps entered the room, heavy boots on concrete. I could see them through a gap in the tarp. 2 men, one with the crowbar. They couldn't have gone far. Checked the barrels. They were 3 feet away. I could hear them breathing. One kicked a barrel near our hiding spot. It rang like a bell. My heart hammered so hard I was sure they could hear it. "They're not here. Try the loading dock." The footsteps moved away. We waited, counted to 100, then 200. Finally, when the silence felt permanent, we crawled out. The door was unlocked. We eased it open, expecting to find them waiting. But there was nothing. Just an alley filled with evening shadows, and in the distance, our truck, still where we'd left it. We ran in a crouch sprint, expecting bullets or shouts. We reached the truck. I fumbled with the keys, dropped them, grabbed them again. The engine turned over on the second try. As we peeled out, Mike looked back. "Steven, they're coming out. They're getting in a van." I pressed the gas pedal to the floor. The old pickup shook and groaned, but it moved. We hit the main road doing 60. Behind us, headlights appeared. The van. They were following. Mike pulled out his phone with shaking hands. "No signal. Steven, I got no signal." I took a hard turn onto a side street. The truck tilted, 2 wheels lifting off the ground. We crashed back down. The van stayed close. In my mirror, I could see the boss in the passenger seat. He was talking on a radio. They got people everywhere, Mike said. They're coordinating. We needed help. We needed witnesses. I saw lights ahead, a gas station, bright and crowded. I swerved into the parking lot, the truck skidding sideways. We jumped out and ran inside. The clerk stared at us. We were covered in dirt and blood, wild-eyed and gasping. Call the police, I shouted. Right now. There are men trying to kill us. The van drove past slowly, didn't stop, just kept going, but I saw the boss looking at us through the window, that same cold smile. The police came. We told them everything. At first, they looked skeptical. 2 guys who admitted they were trespassing, claiming they'd been attacked. But when they went to the foundry, everything changed. They found the lab in the basement, industrial equipment for making methamphetamine, enough chemicals to supply half the state, and in a back room they found something worse. A chair with restraints, blood on the floor, evidence that people had been tortured there. People who'd seen too much, just like us. The raids happened at dawn. Federal agents and state police surrounded the foundry and 3 other locations. They arrested 17 people. The boss's name was David Trent. He'd been running a drug empire from abandoned buildings for 8 years. The trial lasted 4 months. Mike and I testified. We had to sit in that courtroom and look at those men again. Trent stared at us with those dead eyes, that same smile. But this time there were armed guards between us. They all got life sentences. No parole. The judge said we were lucky to be alive. She said dozens of people had probably died in that foundry over the years. People who'd wandered in looking for shelter or scrap, people who'd disappeared without a trace. Mike still does scrap work. I don't know how. I got a job at a warehouse where everything is legal and boring and safe. Sometimes he calls me, says he found a great spot, says we could make good money. I always say no.